Hi, it's Pat Gillis here, and welcome to 28 in 28. You might already know this story, but we had a pony. His name was Pebbles. He just passed away this past August, but he was almost 40 years old. So he had lived at this farm for a long, long time, and he was a pretty important part of everything around here. Pebbles pretty much had the run of the place. Like, he could go anywhere he wanted in the barn. He could go, when he went outside, he could kind of wander in the runways between the paddocks. He had a grand time. But unfortunately, as ponies tend to do, when he was about 35 or so, he foundered a little bit, just a little bit, but we had to get him off the grass. So where Pebbles lived in my barn, and he's lived there for a long time in the barn, is sort of down this ramp. So my barn has different levels. It's kind of weird. So he would have to go down a ramp to get to his stall. So we decided, when he had foundered a little bit, we thought, you know what, maybe for him, not having to go down the ramp every night when he comes in would be good for him, right? Like, it would be putting less weight on his front feet, going down that ramp. So let's move him up to the top aisle. So he's walked up the top aisle all his life to go outside. That putting him in a stall. We made a nice, freshly bedded up for him and really lovely. And the two horses that were on the sides beside him, he knew them from out in the paddocks, that he'd been able to talk with them. So we put him in a stall. We thought, there, we've got this sorted out. Well, that little pony stood in the middle of that stall. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, and he was so anxious. And we were all thinking, like, is he sick? What's going on? And then finally we realized he's stressed by the change, right? So we ended up taking him down the ramp, and we ended up making a dirt path for him around the other way of the barn that he could get down, where he didn't have to walk on anything hard going down the ramp. But once he got back in his own stall, he started to eat, he started to drink, everything was fine. And I thought to myself, my God, this pony has lived here all this time, and yet that change, which wasn't that big a change really, for him was too much for him at 35 to be able to manage. Every now and again we'll be looking through Facebook ads or something, because we might be looking for a horse or doing something like that, and I'll come across an ad that say, blind horse, had him for 29 years, free to a good home. And I swear, ads like that can make me weep, because I think to myself, can you imagine the stress that those horses go through, or to send him on somewhere where he doesn't know where he is, where he doesn't recognize anybody? Again, everybody has to make their own choice, but for me, I would never sleep again at night. And I'm not trying to be judgmental, because I know circumstances sometimes in people's lives can change, and they're left in an untenable position. But I guess for people that have no choice and they have an old horse, boy, you want to be careful with that free to a good home thing, because first of all, it's not always the best home they're going to end up with. When people don't pay money for something, sometimes they don't care for it as much. Even if you find a place that seems suitable, just remember that old horse is going to be very, very stressed, and sometimes, like I say, to end their life in a place that they know, surrounded by people that they love, it might be the kindest thing. I'm not saying it always is the kindest thing, but it's certainly something to consider. At any rate, that's kind of a sad one, but we'll leave it for that for today. Remember to thank your horse, and we'll talk to you soon.